They say a prison is only as strong as the man guarding it. Every so often, someone comes along and proves how fragile that idea can be. Summer 2015, Altiplano, the most secure prison in Mexico. It was built on a promise that nothing, absolutely nothing, could slip through its walls. Yet inside a concrete cell, no larger than a walk-in closet, something was already in motion. It was silent, disciplined, and methodical. On a warm July night, Mexico learned that what it believed was a fortress was also a system with seams. This is the story of the night Joaquin El Chapo Guzman walked out of a maximum security prison by disappearing into the earth. To understand that night, you have to go back to the moment the government believed this story had finally reached its end. When El Chapo was captured in 2014, Mexico celebrated as if a war had been won. He was the shadow behind the Sinaloa cartel, a man whose empire ran on blood, cocaine, and fear. For decades, he slipped through traps, helicopters, and armies. Now he was behind steel doors, watched by guards who rotated every hour so no one could be bought. Altiplano was not just a prison, it was a statement and a message to the world. He is done. But men like El Chapo do not end their stories inside four walls, not after a lifetime spent finding the cracks between them. That truth was already taking shape. Inside the cell, he looked calm, quiet, obedient. He appeared like a man defeated by time. It was an illusion. While the guards watched what looked like a broken king, he was watching them. He memorized routines. He listened to the rhythm of footsteps in the corridor. He timed how long each camera took to pan from left to right. At night, he listened to the ground beneath him, a faint tremor, soft and rhythmic, almost like breathing. He recognized that sound. It was the sound of work. Far beneath his cell, hidden from every sensor, every camera, and every guard, a tunnel was being carved out of the earth. This was not amateur digging, it was engineered, nearly a mile long, tall enough to stand in, wired with lights, reinforced with beams. Mounted on a rail was a small, modified motorcycle built to move fast through the darkness. This was not just a tunnel, it was a precision-built escape system powered by cartel money, cartel planning, and cartel patience. There were no piles of dirt, no obvious noise, no suspicious construction near the prison. The reason was simple. The tunnel did not begin inside the facility, it began outside, beneath a fake construction site, hidden under the appearance of a house being built. Neighbors saw a dusty project. In reality, it was the exit door for a man the world had never managed to lock away. Inside El Chapo's cell, directly beneath the shower, the only blind spot in the entire room, a perfect square of concrete had been cut. No guard noticed. Of course they did not. Who imagines that the most secure prison in the country has a hole in its floor? That assumption was part of the design. Nothing seemed unusual on the night of July 11th. El Chapo paced around his cell. He sat on his cot. He stood, then walked toward the shower. At 8:52 p.m., he bent down, tied his shoes, stepped behind the shower wall, and vanished. The camera did not glitch. He was simply gone. That is what made it so hard to accept. Imagine the moment his feet hit the dirt at the bottom of that ladder. The tunnel glowed under industrial lights. The air was cool and stale. A motorcycle waited on the rail, built for one man and one mission. For the first time since his arrest, he was not a prisoner. He was back in his element, underground. He climbed onto the bike, throttled forward, and sped through the darkness with the confidence of someone who already knew the way out. Above him, guards stared at a motionless video feed. For almost half an hour, no one realized the world's most wanted man was already gone. That delay was the gap he needed. When they finally lifted the shower floor and looked into the hole, no one spoke. They understood what it meant. The prison had not been breached, it had been bypassed. El Chapo emerged from the far end of the tunnel inside a half-finished house. Fresh concrete, a humming generator, tools scattered across the floor, everything staged to look normal. Outside, a vehicle waited. Within hours, he disappeared into the mountains, into the rugged land that had shaped him. Murderers, drug lords, and fugitives all run. El Chapo returned to the only place he trusted, the earth beneath him. What followed was humiliation on a national scale. Dozens of prison employees were arrested, guards, supervisors, administrators. Some took bribes, some looked the other way, some were simply outsmarted. But one truth was impossible to ignore. A tunnel that long, that precise, and that silent cannot exist unless the system above it is already cracked. Months later, when El Chapo was recaptured, the world exhaled in relief, but the damage was already done, because the tunnel was not only an escape route, it was a message. You can build walls as high as you want. You can stack guards on every corner, install sensors, cameras, and systems, but if a man understands the world beneath your feet, your walls mean less than you think. Power is not always loud. It does not always roar. Sometimes it digs. And every handful of soil pulled from that tunnel was a reminder of how fragile institutions can be. Today, El Chapo sits inside a U.S. Supermax facility designed to be escape-proof. No blind spots, no weak floors, no silence. But beneath the ground in central Mexico, the tunnel remains. Empty, cold, stretching into darkness like a scar the country cannot forget. It stands as a monument to one uncomfortable truth. If you cage a man long enough, he will eventually look for a way through stone, steel, or soil. And when he finds it, the world above rarely stays the same.